Well, it is December 25th, 2023. I don't often get to sleep in, but today I did, like 10:30. Wow. And when I woke up, my wife had fixed me a lovely brunch for Christmas Day. Thank you, sweetie. That was very good and very thoughtful. And it kind of fits into my plan today. We're going to step back and look at the things that happened in 2023 and then try and talk about next week when we look forward to 2024. So let's begin with the closing of the year. Come on in, have a seat. Well, hi, everybody. I'm Bill Bateman, part of the team here at Refuse to be a Victim Personal Protection Training. As you well know, we are located in the Medford-White City area of Southern Oregon. And thank you for joining us on this Christmas Day. It'll be a little bit shorter. It'll be a little bit different because it is the holidays. Start out, my wife wanted me to say Merry Christmas to all of you and our extended family out there, and the same for me. So Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, Happy Kwanzaa, Festivus, Michaelmas, whatever you're doing out there. Be safe, and thanks for coming in. Well, it's the end of the year, and as many programs do, they'll take a look back at what happened in the year. It's always about the people. And I did take a number of looks at a number of different lists, and it really depends on the country reporting it. Topping the list in Europe, I was kind of saddened to hear we had lost Michael Gambon, and a number of my friends said, "Who?" And I said, "That's Dumbledore in Harry Potter." Oh. So the country of record is obviously going to have more local interest. In my world, semi-personal note, I grew up in the age of radio. I grew up in the Los Angeles area, and Jim Ladd was a fixture of the rock and roll. He was on both KLOS and KMET, real radio back when people picked, and promoted the songs. He started in the 70s. He got all kinds of excellent work done. He inspired Tom Petty's 2002 song, The Last DJ. It's about a disc jockey who stands up to the radio station heads to play what he wants. He left us on December 17th from a heart attack, so thank you, Jim. I was never privileged enough to meet him. I talked to him several times, and I am friends with some of his family members, so sending out just a personal note to them. Let's look at the world events first. Well, now let's go ahead. Let's look at the people. Let's start by taking a look at some of the celebrities who have left us. Andre Braugher, Ryan O'Neal, Norman Lear, and Sandra Day O'Connor. And these are kind of by dates. Frances Sternhagen, she and Hume Cronin were the old guard of theater. Rosalind Carter, Bobby Knight, Matthew Perry, Richard Roundtree, yeah, just talking about Shaft, and Suzanne Summer. A number of folks we didn't think a lot of and that we thought very much of. Jimmy Buffett and David McCallum, or Ducky, on NCIS. Bob Barker, who still stands out for Happy Gilmore in that golf scene, when he and Happy are going at it on one of the fairways. Robbie Robinson, and Tony Bennett. Wow, I was surprised. I thought he was immortal. Alan Arkin and Sinead O'Connor, and of course you can't close out this year without saying goodbye to Tina Turner. So there's a lot of different people. This list goes on and on. There's some people I quite honestly don't remember. There's some people I went and said, oh my goodness, like, well, I knew Harry Belafonte, of course, but Lance Reddick, I thought, my goodness, now where have I seen him? You saw him in the John Wick movies. So there are a number of folks who have moved on from here to there. And we, as I said, I have some personal connection with the Ladd, Jim Ladd story, and sympathies and respect going out to the family. In the world of television and movies, that's one thing. Let's look at the world itself. Let's look what happened this year in events. Well, I had so many on here. Some of them I had no idea what they were talking about, and that's on me. But I do know that India has surpassed China as the world's most populous country. Interesting. Stop and think about that. China is no longer the world's most populous country. Big thing this year, AI, artificial intelligence, as somebody who is involved in computers still, even to this day. This whole thing offers both promise and peril, and I think it's time we took a deep breath and focused on that. Ukraine's counteroffensive has gained little ground, and there's been some heavy costs, and there's also been some politics in that we're not going to support Ukraine, not realizing that if we protect their borders, we're also protecting ours because it's the same enemy. That's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it. The big story so far this year, as we end out the year, is the Hamas attack on Israel. That's good for an hour's worth of arguing at almost any venue you come up with. This is something that goes back 5,000 years, and I'm not qualified. I have my opinion, but as far as expertise, I'm just going to say we need to follow that closely. We need to remember that we're all on one planet. The big thing this year, though, even surpassing Ukraine, Hamas, artificial intelligence, and India surpassing China, is global temperatures shattering records. See, climate change is no longer a future threat, it's the world's current reality. 2023 is the hottest year on record. Global temperatures have not been this high in 125,000 years. Doesn't look like a trend to me. And they are planning, it's looking like they're going to just shoot right past that 2 degrees Celsius limit that they put together in Paris. That's the mark we can't go past, and we're on the way. We're seeing extreme weather events around the globe. We've seen it here locally, and we've watched it across the United States, ranging from historic wildfires, extreme drought, and in some areas, record flooding. Today's Christmas Day is the driest, warmest Christmas on record, except up in like Montana, Wyoming, where they're having a big blizzard. So this all ties in. I've hit each of these points from last year with a specific note to our topic, survival beyond the bug-out bag. You see, we have well surpassed when we're going to start worrying about which fire starter we're going to carry, and we should look at where the food is going to come from. We went to Nolans this year, this December. That was our holiday getaway. And we discovered, as many other people have, air travel is getting bumpier and is going to continue to do so due to all the shifts and changes in weather. In Seattle, we were greeted by a hour and some delay on the tarmac because the wind shifted so radically, and I'm glad they did it. Please understand. Respects to those pilots and air traffic control people. They had to shift the runway. We're taking off and I'm just doing an example here, taking off on the east and west runway. They had to move every plane in the airport, taxi them over to take off to the south to southwest runway, for example, because the winds had changed so radically and so significantly. We bounced, basically, coming back from New Orleans, started getting a little annoying around Kansas, got to Denver, it got into serious seatbelt concerns, and this crew was literally running up and down the aisles throwing food at people because they had to get us something to eat before they couldn't get out of their seats. And we bounced into Seattle. It was my wife's first flight in a long time, and sadly she ended up getting sick. We got to use a little bag and left it for the stewardess because it's a lovely parting gift. Life is changing, boys and girls, and we need to Be aware of that. We need to quit waiting for it to go back to the way it was. We need to quit waiting for a superhero to arise. It's you and it's me and it's our people that we associate with. We have to stop listening to the dog whistles and racing off on these idiotic quests. How you say, somebody got mad at me because I said Merry Christmas. Really? I said something else to them and I can't use it on this podcast. They didn't like that either. Some people you just can't please. Another thing we lost this year, at least that I did, gone for me, is my respect for political parties. And I'm talking both sides of the aisle. I'll use just one example, and I'm going to save most of this for next week because we're talking about what's coming on down the road. This year, the CDC, bowing to political pressure, reduced the number of persons it takes to call an event a mass shooting. Think about that. Fewer people means higher numbers. Oh, mass shootings have really increased. Yes, because you've changed how you count them. That's also good for outrage. That's also good for finger pointing. And yes, one mass shooting is too many, obviously. But using lies and false data to try and force an agenda, how are you going to build trust and consensus? It's just not right. So let's look back at this year, maybe in your own home with your own friends. Look at some of the things that disappeared, some of the things that you may be worried about for coming up in the next year. Let's come back next week. We are going to be talking about some long-term things you may be finding that you didn't expect in the coming year. So that's my short holiday message for Christmas. A reminder on classes. This year, we've worked real hard. Shout out to Phil, shout out to CJ, and all the volunteers and team members on the board out there who make this thing work and come together. The date is on all of the course, as well as the day of the week, and I'll give you an example. We have concealed carry classes the second Saturday of every month. So when you go in to register, you'll see the second Saturday of the month highlighted, and then you can go to the month. Let's say you want to come in May. Great. Go ahead and register for that class, and you are pre-registered. All classes do require advance registration. You can't just show up. This isn't like the movies. We have to set things up. We have to plan. There has to be a specific number of staff there for safety. There has to be a credentialed range officer for every 5 persons. So, yes, indeed, we're looking out for you, and we want you to get the best training available. Also, a thank you to everybody who bought a gift certificate. We had much more activity this year than in previous years. Thank you. That's great. A reminder, also schedule that class in advance. It is paid for, but we still need to know you're coming. And let's see what else. Oh, next week I'm going to be announcing a new podcast series. Now, this is not related, my Refuse to be a Victim personal protection training, in any way, shape, or form. It also is not going to impact. This podcast is going to continue. But I live in a mobile home park, and I'm a senior citizen, and renters' rights for seniors and rent increases have become a hot topic, and so we're going to look at that. We're going to be exploring that. It's not, again, related to this. I mention it now because some people have asked me, are you leaving? No, I'm not going anywhere. I'm afraid you're stuck with me here. I've still got some stuff to talk about on 114, for example. Yeah, it may have been struck down temporarily by the courts, but you know there's going to be a full court press for that insane level of restrictive and illegal gun grabbing. So, no, I'm afraid you're stuck with me on that. But if you see another podcast with my name on it, that's what that's going to be about. So, it's a beautiful day here in the Medford White City area. The range, by the way, for those of you who didn't know it, it is open on Christmas. I know Phil our commander-in-chief, the head of the whole thing, makes it a point for him to work on Christmas Day so that the rest of us, the other range officers, can be home and spend time with family and friends. So thank you, Phil. CJ's been working hard on a lot of the stuff in the background that keeps the lights on. Thank you, CJ. Again, to the board members, to the other Bill who's out there who kind of keeps an eye on things overnight. Have a good holiday. You be safe out there. I past the age I have to worry about this, but for New Year's Eve, let's not drink and drive, one or the other. And be safe out there. We'll look forward to seeing you next week for a look at 2024. I'll have the gloves off, and I think I'm going to be getting down to some of the bare metal, and that's kind of important. I'm also going to be coming up with some new ideas, things we haven't been thinking about. Too often, every week, you get in this little cycle of this, that. Oh, another solar panel. Oh, another battery. Oh, another knife. And there are some things changing, and there are some ideas, and I'm going to be heading down that way. I'm doing it myself so I can talk about it with some sort of sense of being well informed, and that I'm going to share it with you. That's it for this week. Be safe. See you at the range. The preceding program was a presentation of Retired Guy Productions.